council regular meeting this 13th of February. We'll start off with followed by the invocation. Pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer and bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, every day that you provide us is a special day. Every day you provide us is a day that we should try to do something for our friends, our neighbors, and our family. Every day you give us, it should be lived with a heart full of love and compassion. Every day that you give us is a day that we look forward to, and we ask that you continue to bless each and every one of us, dear Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, we'll move on to the adoption agenda. Mr. Cease, is there any changes?
Mayor, the only change that we will have is the public hearing that is scheduled with Ms. Knight from LCOG. She has to have that at 6 p.m. or later. She advertised it for 6 per her guidelines. So if we can come back to that when we finish any agenda item at 6 o'clock.
That's fine with me. So is there a motion to approve with that change?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we'll move to the adoption of the minutes of January 16th. Any changes to that one? Is there any changes? Not, is there a motion to approve?
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're moving to presentations, celebrations, and recognitions. Introductions of new employees and recognition of promotions. Ms. Annie Evans, Director of Human Resources.
Eric's up first.
Good afternoon, Council.
Oh, like Danny.
Oh, God. I'm here to introduce Corey Gooding, who is actually a Bluftonian. We did that. Okay. Corey comes to us from Bluffton Movers. Corey's originally from Bluffton, so some of you guys might be familiar with him. Corey just started 4 days ago. Yeah, 4 days ago.
Thank you.
Also have someone here, Robin Primus, who's not in attendance. She came to us about in November timeframe from Alliance Realtor. Robin's our new, basically, public service coordinator. She just couldn't be here tonight for introductions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening we have some promotions and new members to the Building Safety Department. First up, we have Leon Johnson here. He's a building inspector. He's reporting to Marcus. Comes to us from J.E. Dunn. So he's been here since July. We're excited to have him here. Some of our promotions is Marcus Knoll has been promoted to our Chief Building and Development Inspector. That happened back in September. Rob has been promoted to the Chief Building Official. As some of you all know, you can see Richard in the back over there. Richard is going to be retiring in July. So we've had a transition, and Rob is now our Chief Building Official. And unfortunately, Sydney Holland, who is out sick today, is not here. He is now our Chief Plans Examiner, and he took the role of what Rob was. So we're excited with promotions and having Leon on board with us. So great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I just have one, and he's been here for a while. Y'all know Mark Maxwell. He was over in CIP, it says promotion. I told him it was more punishment. He had to come work directly for me. But with a lot we have in CIP, so many of them are getting outside of just project management and getting into things like we're partnering on Stony Creek, we're partnering on economic development, public art, things that aren't just plain capital projects. So we need somebody to kind of help manage those and make sure they're being done properly. So we brought Mark in and brought him over to do that. So not much of a promotion, but more just a lateral movement over to us. So glad to have him. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I am here to introduce our very own Diane Cripps. She is our court assistant and doing a phenomenal job. She was with the IT department and we kind of stole it from them, but she's doing awesome. She comes to us with a bachelor's degree in historic preservation and a master's degree in history of museum studies, and we are excited to have her on our team.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to introduce and welcome Amanda DeBose. There she is. Amanda was hired as a part-time easement acquisition administrator, and she's doing a tremendous job with our Ghost Road program right now. She's been with us for about 6 months now, and she reports to Mark Maxwell. Amanda comes to us with a considerable paralegal and real estate experience, which is exactly what we were looking for when we posted this position. She has a bachelor's degree from Meredith College and is a mother of 2, so she's a very busy woman. I want to thank council for approving this position in this year's budget. Easement acquisition is critical to the success of the capital improvements program, and Amanda here is the right person for the job. So thank you, Amanda, and welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to introduce 2 new employees. Amanda Schutz, who is our permitting and business license generalist. So she's up front with business license and also helps with customer service. And then Stephen Pecco, he is our accounting and risk manager and has played an integral role in finalizing our audit, which will be presented to Town Council here shortly. And they started in October. We're happy to have them on board, really happy to have them on board. And we have 3 promotions. Hannah is our accounts payable administrator. She's been with us. She actually started as an intern with us years ago and then came on board in business license and is now in the finance area doing accounts payable. Shannon Milroy is our new budget, grants, and procurement administrator. She's taking a stronger lead with our budget and also with our ATAC, and has been doing excellent with some of the upgrades with updating our application so it's online, to submit it that way and reducing the paper copies. So we're happy to have her on board. And then Shannon Green is our payroll and systems administrator. She really helped implement our new time and attendance software and has made a lot of strides in our payroll area, and congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations and welcome. Glad to have you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to see you all this evening. I am here to introduce Alexis Kennard. Alexis Kennard is the town's new HR generalist. She comes to us from North Carolina. She worked in the Planet Group. She was an HR coordinator. However, she's originally from Bluffton, loved it so much she felt the need to come back. So we welcome her back. We're so happy to have her here.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have 2 new additions to the IT department. Mr. Brian Jennings is our new systems analyst, so he's our IT tech and the man around town. He is coming to us from Sharp, where he was printer and device technician, also with 20 years in Marines, 20 years service in the Marines, and we thank him for that. Peter Ocasio is our new systems engineer. He is coming with 11 years experience from Jasper County School District. And we're quite excited that they're here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This may take a while. Staff introductions as well as a couple promotions. First up, we have Sergeant Brandon Cooler. He was a staff sergeant with the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. He is on Patrol Team B. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from that other college in South Carolina, not named Clemson. The better one. Next up, we have Chris Wilson, who is also a sergeant. He is a sergeant over the SROs, half of the SROs. Cecil Lancaster is a sergeant over the other half of the SROs. He was a staff sergeant with the Port Royal Police Department. He has an associate's degree in criminal justice from the Technical College of the Low Country. Next, we have Jason Sharshapan. He could not be here tonight because he has the flu. He is a Class 3 police officer. He has just started over at MC Riley Elementary School, which leaves us, we just hired another one today, so that leaves us with one school left to fill all our schools. Next is Chris Lopez. Mr. Lopez he previously was a concrete laborer at Concrete Boys. He is a police recruit getting ready to go to the police academy. He has a high school diploma from Port Richmond. Mr. Edward King, he is also a police recruit. Mr. King was a president at GotPetSupplies.com. That is a plug. You still own the company, right? That's a plug. He has an education, his high school diploma from Esperanza High School, and he is starting the academy soon as well with Mr. Lopez. We have two promotions, Mr. Athen Brown and Mr. Azahil Young, Ozzy. They were both police recruits. They just finished the academy as well as the FTO training program, so they go from the rank of recruit and they got promoted to officer. Mr. Brown is on Patrol Team B, and Mr. Young is on Patrol Team A.
Great. Welcome aboard, guys. Thank you. Okay, next we got our Beaufort County School District Character Student of the Month, and I don't know who it is because Marsha didn't give me anything.
Oh, no. Miss Monica, are you here this evening? And we also have Miss Claudia. Are you here this evening?
Miss Monica. Somebody you want to talk to everybody? You got somebody that wants to talk?
I'll talk. I'm her teacher. This is Monica. She won for gratitude. Monica comes to school every day with a happy heart. There is no obstacle that she faces that she doesn't approach with a smile and a happy heart that she feels grateful for every time. She is an absolute joy to teach because she never gives up. She's always happy. She's always thankful to be somewhere and thankful for all the help that she receives.
Great. Well, this is for you, and this is for you. And also, see that lady over there? You let her know what you like the best, what your favorite lunch is. Sometime in the near future, I'm going to bring it for you and have lunch with you. How about that?
That's a good thing.
You got a picture?
All right. You're gonna get a picture now.
1, 2, 3. Okay, very good.
Oh, which one? Here, I got another coin for you, honey.
I'll grab it.
You got it? Okay, this is Miss Claudia Minshew. Minshew, I did that right. Hi, how are you? Welcome. You want to talk to these folks and tell them all about yourself? Are you supposed to? You don't have to, but if you'd like.
This is Claudia. I teach her, I'm in 6th grade, Bluffton Middle School. I teach her ELA. And she is one of the most compassionate, our character trait was compassion, and she's one of the most compassionate students. Just help someone and she sees them in their needs and is there to give a hug or a friendly smile. So she was absolutely the best choice for the character trait of compassion for the month.
Great. The same goes for you. If you let her know what you want, I'll come to school one day and have lunch with you. How about that? And I'll bring you favorite food. If y'all want to stand there, just wait a little bit so the podium's not swaying.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Good job, bud. Okay. Next, we have a commendation for second helpings. I don't know. Hi, again. Hi. Welcome. Thank you. Whereas over 20,000 residents of Beaufort, Jasper, and Hampton counties cannot afford all the food that they need and suffer from insecurity. And whereas Second Helpings is the only nonprofit food rescue organization thriving to eliminate hunger in this area and provides food free of charge for our neighbors in need. And whereas the organization was started on Hilton Head Island in 1991 by residents who were concerned with feeding the hungry, and whereas 121 residents of the Bluffton area, 459 throughout the area, volunteer with Second Helpings each year. And whereas local grocery stores and other outlets voluntarily donate food or rescue instead of filling our landfills with food that is acceptable for consumption. And whereas the community supports Second Helpings through grants, food drives, direct donations, and other ways. And whereas Second Helpings provides rescue and supplemental food to 8 food pantries, soup kitchens, and family programs in Bluffton, and 54 throughout the area. And whereas this organization has recently rescued its 50th million pound of food that is distributed free to our neighbors in need. Therefore, I, Larry Toomer, along with Bluffton Town Council, do hereby commend Second Helpings for rescuing its 50th million pound of food for the residents of our community. Thank you, guys. We totally support your efforts and are always here. If there's something that we can help you with, your cause is worthy to all of us. Just keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You want a picture of me?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Moving around. Next, we have the annual Palmetto Bluff Development Agreement update. Mr. Will Howard, Vice President of Development. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me here. Couldn't make the last meeting due to the weather, but want to congratulate Councilman Wood, Mayor Toomer, and Councilwoman Frazier on your re-elections and election, Larry. 2023, I don't know if it was a pointer. 2023 was a good year, a very busy year for Palmetto Bluff. One of those years where we spent a lot of time actually in planning for our master plan and planning what we're going to be constructing in the future. But I just want to give you an update of an overview of what we got done this year. So Yeah, I'm arrow keys trying to scroll through. Okay. I'm trying to use the keyboard. Sorry about that. Yeah. Hey, this works. Okay. Um, So total sales, this year was a little bit off from 2023, it was a little bit off from 2022, and that we had 300 million in total sales. I don't know that we'll ever get close to the 391 we had in 21 after the COVID year. That was somewhat of an anomaly, but what we took from this, and as you can see, the color coding was, we had more sales in existing developer homes and resale home sites and resale homes than we did. Our developer home sites weren't exactly where we wanted them to be, but we attributed that to just a lack of diversity in the products that we had to offer. And that's why we've been doing a lot of planning. We're getting ready to release and start construction on some different offerings, different lot types in different areas. And we're hoping that diversity in product will translate into more sales. Total units closed, if you can see, in last year. So in 2021, we had 372 total transactions for $391 million. 2005 transactions in 2022 for $315 million total sales. With just 151 transactions, we still reached 300 million in sales last year. Obviously, my point is that since we've been there in the past few years, home prices, we feel that the money that we're investing in the community has resulted in an increase in the home prices and provided a lot of equity for our existing property owners who have been there for years. So, home construction. Now this was, I did not update the slide. This was for the January presentation, but as of December 31, we had a total of 1,042 certificates of occupancy. So we got 1,042 homes, 375 that are currently either under construction or in the DRB review process. So that translates into potentially an additional 375 closings this year. Probably not all of those will close. The ones in the DRB process won't, but we'll have 250-ish closings this year. Additional permits being pulled, and we have what that translates to, 375 and 1,042. We're just under 1,500 homes. Our total 4,000 total DUs that we have rights to build. So we're not quite halfway there. Moving into 2024, our strategic initiatives, new product releases at the area we call Crossroads, and I've got a map to follow to familiarize for those of you that aren't familiar. New offerings and new amenities and residential in our Crossroads planning area. Block M4, which is an extension of the Moreland Forest. We have land disturbance and permits for that. We expect to be breaking ground on Block M4, which is 81 additional lots in Moreland Forest in the late first quarter, early second quarter of this year. Block M6 and Block I are two offerings that we're working hard with our Hart Howerton, our master planning team on laying out and getting the land plans that we need for these lots. But that's going to offer we'll bring on probably fourth quarter of this year. We'll have permitted an additional 100 or so lots between those two, Block I and Block M6 in Moreland Forest. We continue our master planning with Hart Howardson for the Thayus and Anson area, as well as Big House and Long Island. That includes the dry stack and marina, that we have 50 slips in the water that are essentially completed. We still have some issues to work through with the construction of our dock master's office so that we can provide the rest of the utilities for the project. But we are actively and diligently working on the master planning of Big House to see if we even are going to proceed with the dry stack. And if so, what size and of what type? Is it traditional, or is it the automated version that will save us footprint and valuable land on Big House? We did open our Crossroads 9-hole golf course in January of this year. We broke ground on that in January, and finished it in December and had a grand opening in January of 24. We have already engaged a golf course architect and are finalizing the routing and design of our new Core Crenshaw golf course that will be in the Anson area. And we have that application is with the growth management team for permitting so that we can actually break ground and get started on that course in this year. So this is just a quick map, overview of the projects that we have in the works. I'll get into some capital improvements that we did with Buffalo's, but you know, we had a grand opening of the Buffalo's restaurant this year. We did or in 23. Well, we're working to complete an expansion of the branded residential product, 8 additional lots that we've constructed there for 8 additional branded residence homes. Those are homes that are privately owned, but they're placed in the rental market with the Montage Motel. They're available for short-term rental. The private owners actually, though, still receive concierge service and all the benefits of a Montage guest as that property owner. You can see there blocks M2 and M3 and Moreland Forest are completed. We'll be filing our notice of termination here soon to close that project out. M6, again, you can see, it's hard to see on this, I can't really blow it up, but there is block M6 is an extension of Moreland Forest, but it's unique in that it is up, will be residential lots on the waterway and fronting the golf course that we just completed in the Crossroads area. Block M4 is again an extension of M2 and M3 in Moreland Forest, with 25 or so lots on our inland waterway. And then as we move south, this is where all of our planning is, where we've been working to really expand, and our goal to build the road to Anson that will get us to eventually Big House Island, our phase 1 of the marina, and eventually out to Long Island at some point. We did complete the portion, the bridge from Big House Island back to the mainland. So that is the southern terminus of the road to Anson, and we haven't decided, we really need to work our way north to south so that we can bring all those utilities down to the south end of the island. So that's our next step. And again, you can see the 18-hole golf course there in Anson. That golf course will not have homes on it, but it will provide us with the opportunity to across the road, if you will, in the Anson and Thayus area. That residential will drive the lot sales, we think, for the creation of Anson Village. Just pictures of the new Crossroads golf course that we opened this year. Again, we have engaged tech for the Anson course. So in 2022, we launched our Palmetto Bluff Builders program, where we started our own construction company, and we're building our own homes rather than selling lots and allowing other builders to build them in the past through the Builders Guild. So to date, we've sold 22 million in homes. We have 31 million total that has gone vertical. 5 additional homes will close in 2024. And we plan to start 8 to 10 additional spec homes under our PV Builders program this year. Just the branded montage update. So again, we completed the infrastructure for 8 additional branded residences for the montage. Palmetto, the club and capital improvements. We did what started out as a kitchen modification, turned into a 1.7 million renovation for the Buffalo's restaurant. And we've, we completely redid the restaurant, added some patio space, changed the menu, and it's been a tremendous success. And I think you'll be happy to hear that actually our lunch program, we are actually entertaining more Bluffton residents and visitors than we are PV members for lunch. So, we continually welcome visitors through the gate to come enjoy, some of our amenities. The Montage Motel, another successful year. I don't think it's on here. It's hard to extrapolate, but I believe we were at 67% occupancy for the year. But most importantly, Montage provided just over 1.7 million in ATAX dollars to the town. So that was hopefully a quick overview of what we did in 2023 and what we have planned in 2024. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions by council, Dan?
I'm just curious what your average home cost is now, price, sale.
I would speculate right now, it's probably, we have a few homes that are still already under contract that will close, under the Builders Guild, that will close under 2 million. But between right now, I would say average resale price is probably around 2.5, 3 million. Average developer lot, our developer lots will start out around 575, and anything that we have that's on the inland waterway will sell for probably 1.1 to 1.3 million.
Thank you.
Yep.
Fred?
Good job, Will.
Thank you. Always an open invitation. I'm happy. I told Fred I'm happy to brag and show off what we're doing. So if any of you ever want a tour, please just reach out.
Spend the night?
You can. I've got a campsite. You and I will hang out.
Had a maintenance shed.
Yeah.
Any comments from questions or?
Thank you for the congratulations and great job on the presentation here. Glad to see that you all are thriving the way you are.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to clarify my line of thought. When you were given the average price of homes, that wasn't including the lot.
No,
When you said an average of
well, I'm talking about the resale. I mean, it's so hard for me. I probably should have gotten that information from our real estate, director or our broker. But, it's kind of hard when we have, we had a home in South Wilson that recently closed or recently sold within 30 minutes of being listed for like $13 million. But I would say the average home is that, whether it's like a lot home package or a resale, is probably around $3 million.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thank you for that report, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we at? Public comment. We have any public comments, Ms. Marcia?
Yes, we have 3.
We do.
First is Michael Johannes.
I'm going to read these rules just so we have a clear understanding. During public comment, each speaker is limited to the total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all or any portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. Any one member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action. Name calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to issues under the jurisdiction of the town council. Speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules and protocols for public comment may be ruled out of order by me, and the person whose comments who have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from other improper comments. The refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments may be subject to the individual to removal from the meeting and or a citation under section 2-49 of the town code. Welcome, sir. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Town Council. My name is Michael Johannes. I live at 18 Clayton Court here in Bluffton, South Carolina, off Buckwalter. I'm part of the board at Family Promise locally, and I'll just read from the comment that I presented.
Can everybody hear him?
Sorry? I'll speak closer. Sure. Yep. Sorry. So my name is Michael Johannes. I'm a resident here at Bluffton. 18 Clayton Court is my address here in Bluffton. I'm part of Family Promise, which is a shelter program located here in Bluffton. And I'll read from my comment and then see if there are any questions. Family Promise is the only shelter model for homeless children and their families in Beaufort and Jasper counties. Our offices are located at 181 Bluffton Road in Old Town. We typically have 4 families in the program for 90 days. We have a long waiting list. The children and their families are already here in Bluffton when they apply for the program, and their children go through our local schools. In the last PIT count, the point in time count, there were more than 500 children that were homeless in Beaufort County. Since the beginning of COVID, we were unable to house families in local parishes for many reasons, and we are looking at creating a static facility where situationally unhoused children and their family can go through our program and continue to go to school and get jobs locally. We have proposed a design for what we are calling a promise house that I have here for you. And we are looking for support from our town council to find property and help our local families and children stay in this beautiful city we all call home. My question is, can the town council help Family Promise find and purchase property to build the Promise House? And what do you need from Family Promise to move forward to fulfill our vision that every child will have a home? Thank you, Town Council.
Thank you. Mr. Season, somebody will follow up with you and try to get you some of those answers.
Would you like me to leave any documentation or take that with? I can provide it electronically. Leave it? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Up next is Miss Lynn Greeley. Miss Greeley here?
She's not here.
She's not here? Okay. If she comes in, we'll give her a chance to speak. Next up is Mr. Skip Hoagland.
Skip Hoagland, Windmill Harbor. Your public comment rules are a violation of free speech and they're ridiculous. Bluffton under Salk and Finger leadership became a mini banana republic to profit both their pockets. Salk, a realtor, and Finger to profit his private law firm with developer, realtor, and builder clients. Toomer and the rest of this council took orders and just were told how to vote on most of the issues. Toomer, you were basically Salk's puppet and can assure you that an oyster knows more about overdevelopment, traffic, and pollution than you do. Bluffton is broken. It needs to be fixed. Yes, real funny, isn't it? Sad. First, we need to elect an honest mayor with no conflicts, no horses in the race, not controlled by Terry Finger or special interest groups. We need to try to change our political system to a full-time, full-power mayor with the rights to hire and fire. Same for Hilton Head and Beaufort. Next, we need to replace all council members like Toomer who were told how to vote that caused the overdevelopment, the traffic, and the pollution of the May River. No one moved here for another big city, Hilton Head, nor make our past corrupt realtor, mayor, and lawyer rich. Next, replace Terry Finger, 25 years of overcharged legal fees, conflicts profiting his private law firm must end. We need to hire a staff lawyer and only use outside firms when needed. We need to FOIA and see Finger and all his other legal fees paid by taxpayers for the last 25 years. It's legal robbery. Next, terminate the entire hired Bluffton police force that was controlled by Solka Fingering in this council. It's like a police state that takes orders even to break the laws, and if they didn't follow the orders, they would be fired. We need to replace this Bluffton police force with Sheriff Tanner, who is duly elected by the people and the chief law enforcement officer in all of Beaufort County. He is not hired or controlled by corrupt politicians. Next, we need to terminate Bluffton's private control judges. They're also told how to rule in the cases like mine by Finger and the town of Bluffton officials. And worse, Judge Bush ruled against the rule of law that forces me to appeal to higher courts to win. It's judicial malfeasance at the highest level. I contend all of Bluffton's budgets and the Malden Jenkins audit presentation we hear today is fraudulent. All the year-end audits only audit the numbers handed to this audit firm by the insiders. Audits under GAS do not identify waste, fraud, embezzlement, crimes, and overcharged legal fees. Only a professional, independent forensic firm can accomplish this. Not once a forensic audit or an FBI investigation is done on Bluffton, I predict honestly prison will be the result. And God help us if we still have 45% more development allowed according to the latest study. What is this? Progress? Destruction? What's going on here? I also have, okay, my time's out. Now I'm here to speak for Ms. Greeley, who couldn't show up with a POA. And my position is real simple, Mr. Finger.
Mr. Hoagland, one person speaks three.
You don't have the right to do that.
I do.
A POA trumps Finger's local rules. A POA is a legal law document.
You're disrupting this meeting.
You just don't have the right to do that.
Mr. Hoagland, your public comment's been ended. The mayor's called you out of order. You can please have a seat.
I'm going to finish my POA.
You will not. You can
right.
have a seat.
Judge Vaughn ruled that I can make this POA. Judge Bush ruled no, and Judge Vaughn said I could.
This is your last chance. You may sit, or we will escort you like we have in the past every month.
I'd just like to finish my 3 minutes under a POA.
You've already had your 3 minutes.
I would appreciate it. So can I go ahead and start?
No, sir. You can either sit or you can be escorted out like every month.
No, I want to just finish my speech. Is there a reason why? What law are you following that says I can't do that? Because you are the chief, right? What law are you following that a POA can't be used? If local rule doesn't
we don't
rule
need
on a
to.
POA, you can't do it.
He's interrupting the meeting at this time right now. Thank you.
Hold on.
I'll get your.
Relax. You don't have to manhandle me. It's all good.
Okay.
Thank you, officers.
That finishes our public comment. Next, we have communications from mayor and council. Mr. Woods?
I believe I saw that the accounting department received another award. Was that true? Kudos to you. I'm sure you'll be touching on that this evening. I hope somebody mentions it, which award it was exactly, but great job is usual every year, and thank you for that.
Mr. Hamilton? Ms. Frazier?
Yeah, just want to send well wishes to our Bluffton Bobcats who are playing in the playoffs. Our girls varsity team has been undefeated this season, and the boys made it in the playoffs too, so hoping they win tonight.
Great. I guess for everyone that's watching on television, there is an election going on at this moment until 7 o'clock to replace our vacant seat that we have at this time. So if you haven't voted, You got until 7 o'clock and exercise your right to vote. Help us do a better job. So, moving on. We are, let's see. Is it too early? We're gonna skip the next one. Okay, we'll just move to formal agenda items. The acceptance, let's see, of the Town of Bluffton audit by Maudlin and Jenkins. Miss Natalie, you're up.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilman Wood. Yes, we did. We earned the Budget Recognition Award, and we also received special recognition, which was a goal, and we received it, so it was great. And we're happy to continue on with the awards that we keep earning and achieving for the town. So thank you. I'm happy to present the fiscal year 2023 audit. Mr. Trey Scott with Molden and Jenkins is happy to present.
And Mr. Scott, you're now one of us. You've been thrown on.
I was about to say, I'm not sure I've ever been mentioned in public comment before.
Under the bus for
Sorry.
sexual harassment.
If I can jump in, I would like to recognize the staff that helped put it together. Stephen, our accounting and risk manager, and all the rest of the team with the finance department to help pull it together. We wouldn't be able to do it without their assistance, so.
Great.
There. Yes, it works.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Council. Certainly happy to be here with you all this evening. Again, my name's Trey Scott. I was the partner who oversaw the audit of the town's 2023 financial statements, and pleased to be here with you all to discuss the results of that audit. Really quickly, why I'm here today, just give you a quick introduction to Malden and Jenkins in case you don't know who we are. Give you an overview of our independent auditor's report, your compliance reports, your financial statements, go over some required communications with you, and then answer any questions that you all may have. Really quickly about Malden and Jenkins, we were founded over 100 years ago. We serve over 650 governmental entities throughout the Southeast. Do that across 13 offices in 5 states. And the office that serves you all is our City of Savannah office. But enough about us. I think of particular importance to you all is our audit opinion. I think as you all know, your annual comprehensive financial report or your financial statements are the responsibility of management. It's our responsibility as your auditor to express opinions on that financial information based on our audit. And we do this by following generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And I'm pleased to report to you all today that we issued the town a clean, or what we call an unmodified opinion. And what that basically means is that your financial statements present fairly the financial position and the results of the town's operations as of June 30, 2023. And that's what you're looking for, clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide to you as your auditor. Also included in your financial statements are a couple of compliance reports. The first is what we call our Yellow Book report. If we had any significant issues to report to you, significant audit findings, it would be reported here. So pleased to report to you all as well that we had no audit findings this year as well, no management letter comments. And I think that's just a testament to the hard work that the finance department does on a daily basis, and certainly something they should be commended for. And I think something you all should be very proud of. The other report is a single audit report. So anytime you spend more than $750,000 in federal grant monies, you're required to have a single audit of your major grant programs. And we had to perform a single audit this year, and we issued you all a clean opinion on compliance with those grant programs. So that, again, another very positive thing to hear as well. You may or may not be aware, but you all go above and beyond the required reporting of a local government. You present an annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR. And it has some additional sections in it, an introductory section and a statistical section. And it's submitted each year for the GFOA's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is a little different than the budget award that was spoken of a little while ago. And it takes GFOA a while to review your ACFR, so they'll review your 2023 ACFR, but your 2022 certificate is included in there, and that's the 15th consecutive year you all have received that award. So that's something, again, you all should be pretty proud of as well. Moving on from that, just take a kind of a quick glimpse into the numbers themselves. In your ACFR, you present 2 sets of financial statements. a government-wide set of financial statements that take all of your funds, roll them up into one column, kind of gives you a big picture view of the town as of June 30, 2023. And that's what you're looking here on this slide. I'm not going to read these numbers to you, but do want to point out a couple. Net position, so the difference between your assets and your liabilities, again, across all of your funds, was just a shade under 79 million. And you increased that net position this year as well, so your revenues exceeded your expenses, and that's what we're talking about in that bottom bullet point. But I guess one of the more common questions I get is, how healthy are we? And an audit's not really designed to tell you that you're healthy, but there are certain metrics you can look at to kind of gauge that health. And one of the places I like to look, especially at your government-wide level, is, are we reinvesting in the town? Is our capital asset base newer, or is it older? Are we letting things age? And what this graph shows me is that you are continuing to reinvest in the town. You've got a pretty young-looking asset base. The older the assets would be, or how you would determine the assets are older, is that green bar would be much closer to the height of the blue bar. So certainly that's a good-looking 5-year comparison for your capital asset activity. If we move on from your government-wide statements, remember I said you had 2 sets of statements, your government-wide and then your fund level information, which you're more apt to see, maybe quarterly, monthly, and more specifically your general fund. That's usually kind of the big sibling fund of the government. And again, a bunch of numbers on the page, but fund balance there, your third bullet down, about 29.6 million, 16.7 million of that is unassigned. Again, that's not the cash you have available to spend. It's just the difference between your assets and your liabilities. And then we were talking about health a little while ago. Looking at the general fund, you got 9 months, approximately 9 months of expenditures in fund balance. And that's unassigned fund balance. That's a good place to be considering where you are on the coast. You're a June 30 year end. So we're not going to be collecting property taxes again for another 6 months or so, 5 or 6 months. So that's a good, healthy place to be. Another place to look for health is liquidity. How many times could we pay our current liabilities, so our outstanding invoices, our payroll? How many times could we pay those things with the current assets, liquid assets that we have available to us? At June 30, 2023, you could have done that almost, or a little more than 4 times. So that's a very good liquid position as well. Just kind of looking at the general fund graphically, very good trends. Revenues have been increasing over the course of the last 4 years since they're low in 2020, COVID year. Expenditures have been going up as well, and fund balance certainly has recovered nicely as well. So that's, again, a very good trending graph for your general fund. Just a few things that I'm required to communicate to you all. Again, clean opinion, no audit findings, no management letter comments. Those other items there listed in bullet 2, all we're saying here is those are integral parts of your financial statements and they're the responsibility of management. We had no difficulties or disagreements in the performance of our audit. Had no disagreements with management in the performance of our audit as well. You got a really good group of people in the finance department. They get us what we need when we need it. And that's very refreshing from my standpoint as your auditor. Also, no uncorrected misstatements, so all adjustments were posted, no past adjustments. And then just want to make sure you all are aware that we're independent of the town in accordance with all of the applicable standards of our profession. Normally, this slide is full of new accounting standards, but they've kind of given us a little bit of a reprieve. There are only 3 that we'll need to implement over the course of the next few years, and we'll work with finance on the best course of action for implementation of those. And that pretty much concludes what I wanted to report to you all this evening. It's been a pleasure to serve the town, and we look forward to serving you all in the future. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer those.
Bridget? Okay, well, thank you. That's all good news, and we should feel good about our staff and the decisions that we're making as council. So hopefully next year you'll say the same thing. Or how often do we do this? Every year, right? Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So do we do anything, we have to vote to accept that or anything for the?
Vote to accept the audit?
Yeah. When it's formal. So.
Yeah, you vote to accept. Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the presentation by Maudlin and Jenkins? Oh. Is there a motion to accept the fiscal year 2023 audit for the town of Bluffton presented by Maudlin and Jenkins LLC and its inclusion in the annual comprehensive financial report for the year ending in June 30th, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
So that's done. Okay. Next on here, let's see, we're waiting on, she's gonna have to wait a little while
Are
longer.
we close enough to 6 to be good for you?
It's 5 till.
Well, I'm probably gonna talk 5 minutes at least, so you probably say.
You can do a presentation and then the public comment. Okay.
All right, this is, public hearing and final reading, consideration of town of Bluffton needs assessment, housing, public facilities, and economic development. Michelle Knight, Community and Economic Development Director, Low Country Council of Government. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank y'all for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk to y'all about the town's needs for the coming year. There's not a whole lot that has changed this year with the program with overall, but there are a few things that may be of interest to you. As usual, we always make the statement during our public hearings that we are not going to discriminate against protected classes under the Civil Rights Law of the United States, that we don't discriminate against race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, or national origin, and that if anyone tells you that they've been discriminated against in the sale or rental of housing, in residential real estate transactions, or provision of brokerage services, you can have them call our office at that 473-3990 number, and we can talk to those people. And if it's something that needs to be moved along to the Ethics Commission, we can do that, or to the Fair Housing Commission, we can do that and talk to them and lead them through that process. The state CDBG program's basically designed to benefit low to moderate income people of the community. In 2024, low to moderate income in Beaufort County for a 4-person family would be annual income of less than $73,450 a year. That number goes up and down based on the number of people living in the home, and it varies from county to county depending on the median household income of the county. So for this year, we are expecting to receive approximately $20 million in CDBG funds at the state level. The program statement this year actually has an end on their comment period of today. So you've got until the end of the day today, or end of the evening this evening, to submit comments to Lisa Ross at South Carolina Department of Commerce related to the program statement and the information that's in this presentation. There are 3 broad grant categories for CDBG: community development, business development, and regional planning. And on to the meat of it. This year in the community development program, this is where the majority of our money is. Almost 17 million of the 20 million that we're talking about. There's $9 million set aside for community infrastructure. This is our spring round projects. We have a March 22nd application request deadline and a April 22nd full request deadline. And this is what we call our water, sewer, drainage roads set aside. We have a maximum funding amount of $1 million for a project in that set aside. The other set-asides for community development are all fall round projects or fall round set-asides. And they are local priorities, which is what used to be our special projects set aside. This has an August request deadline and a September application deadline. And basically, this is a small set aside. We can apply for up to $300,000 to do small economic development type projects, to do projects that promote public health and safety and quality of life and resiliency, and to do projects that will promote narrowing the digital divide. That's mainly looking at areas where we have limited access to internet or broadband service internet. Our community enrichment program has $7.1 million set aside for that. That is a doubling of what we normally have in there. And you'll see a little bit further along, that's because our neighborhood revitalization program that we used to have, the state has decided to do away with that program. So there's $7.1 million in this set aside. Again, an August request and September deadline for full application. This set aside is designed to do things like demolition of white elephant buildings or brownfield projects that are publicly owned, downtown streetscape projects where there is a large investment already in place, planning for regional infrastructure. This has a $50,000 maximum for an application there. Development and building of libraries, publicly owned facilities that have a low to moderate income benefit, so we can't, work on town hall or do just an event center or something like that. We have to have a facility that would be serving an LMI purpose or serving an LMI clientele, a low to moderate income clientele. There's also transportation-related type projects that you can do under this. Health clinic facilities or equipment. We've actually funded things like ambulances before and expanded services for DHEC health clinics. There can be public facility modifications to make buildings accessible for the disabled. If it's a building that is benefiting primarily a low to moderate income group, we can do sidewalks in low to moderate income areas as well. The maximum here that we can apply for is $750,000. And then our final set aside is our ready to go set aside. This has $500,000 in it, so we're not doing many projects. The maximum funding amount is $500,000. And this is basically for shovel-ready projects that cannot wait to our regular rounds to fund that would qualify under community infrastructure or community enrichment. So you have to have some compelling reason that you need to do the project right now. Again, our national objectives, there are primarily 3 national objectives that you can meet under this program. One is benefit the low to moderate income people, and that is where I dare say 90% of our projects are funded through that qualification. Aid in the prevention of slum or blight. That is where the balance of our projects are funded. But typically under that national objective, you have to have a town council or a city council or a county council that's willing to identify an area and call it slum and blight in order for us to do that. And then the final one is what we call the urgent health threat set aside. This is where we have some national natural disaster that's been declared, and we come in and we do work. We've had a couple of projects like that over the years. The last one that I can think of is during COVID in April when we had the tornadoes go through. We actually did a demolition project in Colleton County of a building that basically was, due to the tornadoes, halfway down already. So we finished doing that work with a grant. The last grant program category I want to talk about in any detail is the business development program. This is where we provide public infrastructure. It could be water, sewer, road, to serve an industry that's looking to expand or locate in our area. And typically that industry would have a job creation and investment commitment that they have stipulated, and would sign a performance agreement with the state of South Carolina in order to secure that funding. The jobs that are created, the majority of them have to be jobs that can go to low to moderate income people, and they have to be what we describe as qualifying jobs, which basically mean that you can do the job with a high school education and a year's training. And then regional planning, there's $500,000 there. That $500,000 is used to give each of the 10 COGs across the state a $50,000 grant for capacity building in our communities, for us to be able to go out and do these public hearings, to meet with your staff when they have potential projects that they want to look at applying for funding for, and work on project development with our communities. And the final balance of the money that's estimated to come to the state is for state administration and technical assistance. All of our programs, or all of our projects that compete in the community development program can receive bonus points if they're located in opportunity zones in our area. Any communities that apply for CDBG funding can have no more than 2 open grants, excluding a planning grant or a business development grant, and none of their open grants can be over 30 months old. Also, with performance threshold for communities, you can have no more than 1 neighborhood project, which that's soon to go away because we won't have neighborhood projects anymore. You can have no more than 1 ready-to-go project, and you can have no more than 1 project in the same general project area. So you can't have 2 active projects in the same neighborhood at one time. And then our last slides are just to talk briefly about the Home Consortium. As y'all know, Low Country Council of Governments manages the Beaufort County Low Country Regional Home Consortium. This is direct HUD money that passes through Beaufort County to the 4-county region to address housing issues in the 4-county region. And all of our communities, all of our counties, all of our municipalities in the region participate in the consortium. The top 3 objectives to the consortium are to rehabilitate substandard housing, to increase accessibility to adequate and affordable housing, and to support the development of safe, affordable, and decent, or safe and decent affordable housing. Basically, you know, we know that that our 4-county region has areas that are in need of affordable housing and rehabilitation of substandard housing. And we need to eliminate the dilapidated and vacant housing that's there and redevelop. You know, as our housing stock ages, if we're not maintaining the housing stock, then there becomes a greater need for us to design new housing stock that will serve those communities. We would ask that if you have specific projects or needs that you want to address in the Bluffton area, for you to contact us prior to April 26th of this year, specifically about the housing issues. And at this point, I'd ask you probably to contact myself or Tiffany Dantzler of our office now, as we're in a transition period with the Home Consortium due to some unforeseen circumstances. Other than that, I have no formal comments. I think that the staff has a memo where they talk about what your previous priorities have been, and whether or not y'all want to look at, changing rankings depending on any comments that you receive. Thank you.
Before I get to that, do we want to open it to the public hearing first before I go through that slide?
To see if there are any public comments.
This is public hearing. Is there any public comment pertaining to this matter? Second call for public comment. Third call for public comment. Public comment is closed. So we're gonna.
Okay, you ready for me? Okay, so as we've done in previous years, what town council's action is now is to prioritize the different needs for the community. Now, this slide is what was prioritized in previous years, 2023. That first column here. They're essentially all high priorities, but we do need to put them in a prioritized order. Should this suffice, I do have a motion, or we can adjust as needed. So that is what we do need from council action this evening. And again, this list that's here is what was reflected last year following the public hearing.
Conversation.
Yeah, comment.
Bridget, you have? Go ahead, you're first.
So, and speaking of just on this issue, and then I have comments too from the slide whenever we make time for that. But I personally would say that looking at the needs of our residents and where we are, I think the affordable housing one should definitely stay number one. But seeing how well-received the neighborhood assistance program is, in addition to how many people still need access to that, I would weight that over transportation and pedestrian safety, just in the sense of, you know, our approach to that is more of like a regional concern, that we don't have full jurisdiction over, you know, the roads that are impacting transportation, i.e. like 278, what have you. But we do have control over like our budget and being able to prioritize assisting residents who currently are LMI and need to have roof repairs or whatever done. So I would say that having folks who live in Bluffton be able to stay in Bluffton and work here is a great priority with the cost of housing and the lack of access and affordability people have. That'd be the only one I would change.
So your suggestion would be to change
2 and 3.
Fred, any comments?
I'm in agreement with Bridget. It also shows that those two goes hand in hand as far as affordable housing and home repair means to the Affordable Housing Committee here at the town. I have a question on special value to the community, facilities or special value to the community. How would you identify that facility?
Sure. I think what that stems from is in past years, and I mean, there's still a way to do it, that y'all have some structures that are of importance to the community, that they have historical significance, that sort of thing. And at one point, one of our set-asides would allow for us to look at stabilization of those facilities as a potential project. The trouble that Bluffton in general has with that is that because the town is not over 51% low to moderate income, it's harder for us to do those types of projects, which with it being at the bottom, it basically shows that y'all still think it's important, but it's not in your top 3, so it's not something that we would push harder for. Your top 3 priorities are the things that we would be more focused on. And the other thing that I've mentioned, in relation to transportation and pedestrian safety, I think that was more of an idea that working on your sidewalks and walkability in your neighborhoods and that kind of thing, not necessarily, larger projects, which I know you don't have as much control over with DOT and the MPO and all that, because it's a regional approach to all of those things.
Michelle, would that classify someone, personal property that we consider contributing structures?
It wouldn't necessarily be private property. It would have to be publicly owned property. I think some of the things that we had discussed about that, in previous years were, is it Eagles Field, the ball field at Buck Island, in Buck Island, Simmonsville neighborhood. We discussed the ball field out there. And then there was another structure in Old Town that I think Pat already left, that he and I had looked at. I can't remember. I want to call it the Hayward House, and I think I'm wrong about the name.
I think we had looked at the
Squire Pope House.
to see if that would be eligible for grant dollars.
Right. We've looked at that too, to try to do something. I will say this just in general, just because of the fact that there's so much water and sewer infrastructure money out there right now. I don't know if you really noticed it from the slides, but I think there's not been as much of a tweak this year. It's kind of a transition year, but there's been a lot of discussion, to focus more on fall round type projects and things that would be a little bit different from what CDBG in the past has done. I mean, y'all have done a lot of water and sewer, out in your, low to moderate income neighborhoods and a lot of that thing. But I think you'll see over the next few years that there's going to be a shift in that, as we move forward.
I agree with Fred, who agreed with Bridget.
I have another question when you're done, Larry.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Bridget.
So I have another question. When you mentioned the community infrastructure portion in the front, of the presentation about like the, sewer and other infrastructure needs we could tap into, when it comes to that funding, is it only related to individual projects that we would execute, or could those funds be used for, like ancillary support programs in terms of, LMI residents who would be looking for, like a waiver to tap into like a sewer, to have sewer tie-in brought into the.
We've actually discussed with the engineering department when the state was down for monitoring from one of your current, grants that we're trying to finish up. There are some, we know, pockets of people who never connected to the system. And I think that the state is probably open to maybe doing a small infrastructure project that's focused on connecting those people, running the laterals, to the main line that's already there. I think there are a few places off of, I want to say off of Goethe Road that have a few spots like that, like Maiden Lane, maybe in Grace Lane, or I might have the wrong streets, but I know, I'm aware of the fact that there are some pockets like that. And there has been a discussion with our grants manager about looking at something like that. And they are willing to entertain it. The question becomes, are there enough of those to get us over that $50,000 threshold, to make an application? So we'd have to identify those structures and go in and look.
Are you saying it have to be a $50,000 minimum?
The grant request that you make, the smallest grant request that you make, can be $50,000. Okay? But you can go up to $1 million if you've got it, but I don't think y'all have $1 million worth of laterals that you need to connect. But the question is, do you have $50,000 worth that when we look at the construction of it and, the cost of tapping in, which Beaufort Jasper would have to waive those tap fees for those people, but the construction of it, the abandoning of the septic tanks, whatever cost, if you have to have any kind of, it shouldn't be much, but maybe a little bit of engineering work, that kind of thing, if it will tap you over the $50,000 mark to be able to apply.
I don't know where we, are with that. I know, Heather and her department will be able to respond to like what those needs are, but I asked that question in particular, and I'm glad to know that because we do have, a lot of LMI residents, when we talk about affordability, who are in the predicament now where they, are able to bring in a structure to their property, for instance, and, they get, kind of caught up in not being able to afford whatever that
They can't
sewer.
afford the sewer hookup.
Right.
And then the other problem is because the sewer's available, they can't drop a septic tank.
Right. And we don't want them
To drop a septic
to
tank
do that,
either.
so
I
it's
mean, I
kind of
know you
like,
don't, but I
I'm
mean-
glad that the county does have a waiver program, but I know those funds too are limited as they're for the whole county, not just the municipality. So if there was any wiggle room around,
I think the problem with the scenario that you're describing there is, and I mean, we can certainly sit down. I know Columbia's expressed a desire to actually come to Bluffton and sit down and talk with the engineering department and the planning department about needs and that sort of thing, and get some feedback on some ideas for some new types of projects that maybe we could do. I think on its face, the issue that you'll have with what you've outlined there is the fact that there's not already a structure there and people there. Because what we've always talked about as a lateral project is that you have these people that we've missed for whatever reason. Either, we didn't have enough money to get that far, they were further away from the road than we thought, or maybe it was the town doesn't have a mandatory hookup ordinance, even though Beaufort Jasper does. If they don't enforce it, you can't, so the problem in that scenario is there probably would need to be a structure already there.
and one last question, with the, public facilities portion, the $750,000, is that each municipality is able to request that maximum? Or is that, for all of our,
Anybody that's an eligible grant applicant, meaning any municipality within our region, with the exception of Hilton Head, because they're an entitlement area, or any county, if it was for a facility that was outside of an incorporated town limit, could apply for that money. But it has to be for a structure that's going to serve a low to moderate income group. The easiest thing I can think of to describe, or the easiest group I can think of to describe where we could do something like that, is if, say, as a result, we're currently undergoing a facilities assessment for the AAA for senior centers. If there was a need and a demand based on where we have senior centers located, that you needed to build one in this area, if you're over 62, you're presumed to be low to moderate income. You're presumed to be on a fixed income. Now, I know that's not necessarily the case, but you're presumed to be that. So that facility would be serving a low to moderate income clientele. So you could put that money toward the construction of one or the expansion of one.
are shelters included in that?
Like homeless shelters or warming centers or something like that, or?
I guess homeless, but more so like temporary, like transient, or shelters for transient residents.
I think, right now, the answer to that would probably be no, because they would see that as, duplicating the effort of another funding source, because there is an emergency shelter grant program in the state. So I think that you probably, I can check, but the answer would probably be no on that. Now, maybe there's some ways to look at that in the future. Might be some things that we can talk about. If it's maybe a facility that couples more than just sheltering, maybe programs or that kind of thing.
Gotcha. I would encourage definitely to look into it because in our county, we have no shelters. And the one that we do have, the gentleman spoke earlier, they move from hotels and churches and things. So if there are funds, allocations out there, it would be nice that municipalities could kind of pool their efforts to create something
I
like
will
that.
say this, the Home Consortium, we received some ARPA funding, and that's one of the things that we're supposed to address with it. So while there may not be opportunities with this program, the other program, the last 3 slides, that program, there may be some opportunities there.
When does the ARPA funding finish?
Well, technically, I think we've got to have it obligated, I want to say by 2026. I might be wrong about that. I'm going to have to dig into it a little bit more, but then we have another window by which we can expend it. And we've been having some discussions. We've done some work with some developers to utilize some of that. I think your May River project, phase 3, we used some home ARPA money for that. I don't think it was regular home money, huh?
Is that the county?
Well, it might, okay.
But that's the housing right at the edge of the county.
Well, it
Not the
might
county
technically
inside of
be
it.
in the county limits, but I think you can see it outside the town manager's window.
The one back at David Bennett's property on May
Right.
River Road.
Right.
The apartments right across from
We've put some home funds in place.
Shell.
You mean
I'm Bruin, sorry, Bruin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget it changes
So-
names. Yeah, Bruin Road.
But, so there may be some things to do there. We can look into that.
Now, one thing I didn't understand when Bridget was asking some questions, you made the comment, something about South Carolina emergency shelter.
There's an emergency shelter grant program, that's been out there for years and years and years. I mean, as long as I've been working. It's very small. It's very small. They do a lot of what they do is they help support the existing shelters, because they can use their facilities to qualify. The value of their facilities is matched. And then they use the funding to help, keep the lights on in the building and phone and that kind of thing. But, they do have some shelter money through that. And then there's, I want to say there's some through HOPWA, which is that housing assistance for people with AIDS, that's out there too. So this particular program, their position has been over the years that they don't want to do things that duplicate other programs in the state work. So that has been the position that they've had. We've gone to them a couple of times over the years about transitional housing. The idea is that you're there for 12 to 18 months, but you transition out into a home from there and having services inside the housing. But we've been told no on that several times. That's not to say that that will continue to be the case, because there's been a change in leadership up there as well. So we look to, this year, not a whole lot's changed other than them taking out a program and putting more money into another program. But we expect over the next couple of program years that things will continue to change significantly, because there's already discussion of it.
Just one question to clarify that. When you're talking about the shelter fund, or whatever it's referred to, it still would have to be owned by the town, right?
Yes.
That wouldn't be for
It would have to be a publicly owned facility.
Okay, anything else, guys? Unless we want to change the order of these? Somebody wants to make a motion and change that?
If you're really serious about the lateral connections, you might want to bump your infrastructure improvement priority up to 3. I understand why you've got housing at 1, your housing projects at 1, or housing activities at 1 and 2, but you might want to bump that.
Okay, so what we're talking about, if I understand, we want to take number 3 to number 2 and number 4 to number 3?
Number 4, I'm sorry, you're right. Number 3 to number 2 and number 4 to number 3. Yeah, right.
Make that motion. Make it.
You want me to read all?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we move item number 3 on our list of priorities, residential rehabilitation of housing for safe and dry housing, to position number 2, that we move infrastructure improvements, including sewer, water, and drainage, or to number 3, and that we move transportation and pedestrian safety under that to position number 4. And our last priority will be restoration of properties or facilities of special value to the community.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
And if I could, before we move on, I know she has a sign-in sheet, so for those who are in the audience, if you could sign in for Michelle so she can get credit for this.
So it's not like if I'm the only one here that I really studied that. It's out on the table.
Okay, moving on, we've got a consideration of an ordinance authorizing an economic development incentive agreement between the town of Bluffton and Solomon Property Holdings LLC in support of the development of 15,000 square feet of a health and wellness facility. Second and final reading, Mr. Chris Forrester.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I begin, the special recognition that we got through the budget, we had the budget recognition, and then they give special recognitions for exceptional areas within the budget. And the one that we got was for the long-term financial planning, which is a great, it's the first time I think we got it for that section. Great achievement, so kudos to Natalie and her team. And speaking of long-term planning and looking ahead, I just want to give you all kudos to what you did back in September, October, in adopting this ordinance. Council does a great job of identifying needs and being proactive about it, and looking forward to how we can remedy those situations. And this ordinance is a good example of that, looking at the commercial services needs. And as a reminder, these are the areas that we are targeting through this program. Solomon Property Holdings was our very first applicant for it, and we had a couple comments from the first reading that I'll go over in a minute. And just a reminder, this is what it looks like. The dentist's office is there to your left, and then the remaining 10,000 square feet would be reserved for healthcare-related businesses. The couple changes that you had requested at the first reading was to remove the impact fees that were related to county, and that we could find a suitable substitute related for that come from town-related revenues. And so we looked at the Bluffton property tax, which we added at the bottom of that chart there. And it came out to be around the same amount, a little bit more, about 10,000 more than the original proposal over the 5 years. But taking out the county impact fees and incorporating and factoring in the Bluffton property taxes, what we show as net revenue over the 5 years to the town increases from basically a break even to added $41,000 to the town's coffers. So this is a better reflection of what they would actually pay the town and what we can offer in incentives related to our own revenue sources. Before I go to the, conclude with the contract terms, is there any questions on this information?
This was the only change?
Yes. Well, and on the next one, I will also add that we met with them to refine their job numbers. So they had originally projected 67 positions, full-time positions in the first year. And so we talked with them. What they had done in their original proposal is they included jobs related to the construction of the facility as well. So I told them to strip that out and just go to jobs that are related to the businesses that will reside in the facility. So that year one number is 63 full-time positions for those 3 businesses, healthcare-related businesses. And again, these are higher paying jobs as well. Any questions on these numbers here? And these are estimates. The grant terms are actually based on percentages. So the actuals will be based on the percentages, but those are estimates based on what we had.
Well, could you click back on that one time, Chris, since we're going to talk about it as we go. So if I'm looking at the whole thing, we will receive $41,452 from this adventure or development.
Well, technically,
in the 5 years, in the first 5 years.
Right, so over the first 5 years, technically, we will take in 148,982.
Right.
And then grant back an equivalent of 107,500.
Right.
So the net would be 41. Yep. So as I mentioned, it's 15,000 square feet of Class A health and wellness. They'll establish their general operation by April 1st and commit the remaining 10,000 square feet. They are currently in talks with a primary care, ophthalmology, rheumatology, medical spa, oral surgery. So those are individuals that they're talking with, no current commitments yet. But as part of the grant agreement, they would commit to leasing 2 health and wellness related tenants. The grant would be paid annually on April 1st with proof of payment of all their fees and taxes. And the percentage breakdown is there. Permit fees, town permit fees is 50%, Beaufort Jasper capacity fees 100%, business license 50% over 5 years, and then the Bluffton property tax equivalent 50% over 5 years. Any final questions?
Any questions from anyone? You could figure this out where it made sense. Bridget, you have anything? Was there a motion? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make it. Mayor, I make a motion to approve second and final reading of an ordinance authorizing the town manager to enter into an economic development grant agreement between the town of Bluffton and Solomon Property Holdings, LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You in favor?
I said aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, Chris. Good job. Okay, where are we at? Move on to the consent agenda. Everybody sees it there. Council, is there anything on here that'd like to be removed or discussed? Fred? Pam?
No.
So is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. Is there a motion to move into executive session regarding personnel matters regarding town council appointments of boards, committees, and commissions pursuant to Freedom of Information Act 30-4-70A1?
So move.
All in favor? Aye. We are in executive. Discussion or action will be taken. Who wants to read this? You want me to? Yep. Is there a motion to appoint Chris? How do you say that?
I have a hard time.
Key her.
To our WAPAC committee, and Melissa Perry to municipal election committee.
So move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Amen.
All right, y'all.